So good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to join you all in one of the most significant times of our city process, the signing of the final budget ordinance. I want to thank the mayor, the Department of Finance, and city staff for your diligence in compiling the fiscal year 2024 proposed budget. I also want to thank the IBA and my colleagues for the smooth process of adopting a budget that touched every part of our city meaningfully. This year, we demonstrated a collaborative effort to pass a budget that received a unanimous vote in council. This is proof that our city's budget process is working toward equity. As chair of the Budget and Government Efficiency Committee and lead on the council's budget authority, I am proud to have voted for a balanced budget that contained so many common sense investments that will continue moving our city in an equitable direction. From the eviction prevention program to improvements in our parks and recreation centers, this budget amplified the voice of our residents while balancing each district's needs. As I stand here today, I also want to thank the public for voicing your priorities, your concerns, and solutions to the city's budget. Ultimately, it was community input that ensured that we would adopt a budget that represents our city's diversity and represents the needs of our vulnerable and underrepresented communities. And as leaders, we must designate resources that reflect our commitments to equity, and the investments in this budget improve the quality of life for all of our residents. And with that, I will turn it over to the Council President, Shawnila Rivera.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. And first, I want to thank you for your leadership in steering the ship during that process. Council President Pro Tem Montgomery Stepp did a fantastic job of ensuring. Is that better? We did not spend money on new microphones in this year's budget. All right, we good? Yeah. All right. So I want to thank the Council President Pro Tem for her leadership of not just the Budget and Government Efficiency Committee, but the budget process. We have folks from across the city who have often not felt seen or heard in the process, and ensuring that they have a space to be heard, to feel seen, while also ensuring that the 9 council members also can make the contributions that they want to make is not an easy tightrope to walk. And Council President Pro Tem did that expertly in this year's budget process, and I think the final product was a better product as a result of her leadership, but also the process was a better process because of her leadership. So thank you for that. Our commitment at the beginning of this year was to invest in the fundamentals and lean into supporting our seniors and youth. Today, the mayor is signing a budget passed by the City Council unanimously that does just that. To address the city's homelessness crisis, the council prioritized funding for homelessness prevention, like the Housing Instability Prevention Program, the Eviction Prevention Program, and the new Tenant Protections Ordinance. These programs are designed to prevent seniors, families, and other vulnerable communities from being unnecessarily evicted and forced onto the streets. And because our young people are also worthy of our investment, the council funded a new program that offers community-provided care and support for San Diego youth. In addition to that, this council and the mayor made the most important investment and meaningful investment in the people who work here that has been made in a generation. For the first time in a generation, San Diego City employees, the folks who we all depend on to fix our potholes, to fix our streetlights, to ensure that our parks and libraries are places that we can be proud of, will be treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve because of the contracts that were negotiated and agreed upon and invested in this year's budget. I'm incredibly proud of that, and I think every resident in San Diego will be better off for it. So thank you to the mayor for your collaboration in this process. Thank you to my colleagues on the council for all the work you and your teams put into this. And thank you to the residents, especially those folks who've often been shut out of the process, for showing up, speaking up, and ensuring that your voices were heard in this process. Thank you so much. Now to the mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Dare I? I'm not nearly as tall as him. Let's see. Good? We good? Excellent. Whatever money was supposed to go to this is going to potholes, just so you know. Thank you, Council President Elo Rivera, and good morning, everyone. I want to acknowledge, in addition to our Council President and our Council President Pro Tem, we have Council Members Whitburn, Campbell, Von Wilper, and Lee joining us this morning. And I'm sure the other Council Members are out doing good things in their districts. We couldn't all get together at the same time, but we do want to celebrate this collectively. This, as the Council President Pro Tem, our Budget Chair, mentioned, is truly an important day in our city. This is probably the biggest thing that we do all year, and I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about it. I want to first start by thanking my council colleagues who have spent many hours reviewing department by department this budget proposal. Also, I want to thank the dozens of city staff who helped to draft this budget, some who are with us this morning. And I also want to appreciate the work of the public who let their preferences and priorities be known. It truly does improve the final product when we understand what people's priorities are and are able to accommodate them in this spending plan. Budgets are unambiguous statements of a city's priorities about what a city wants to be and how we will get there, what we'll choose to invest in, and what we want to fix. This budget I'm signing today will flex our commitment to helping get homeless folks off the streets and into permanent housing. It demonstrates that we understand that our most important role is to keep our residents safe by investing in our police department, our fire department, and our lifeguards, giving them the staff and the equipment that they need to keep our city one of the safest big cities in the United States. And it says that I hear San Diegans loud and clear when I hear them say that they're tired of driving on roads that are crumbling from decades of disinvestment. The people of San Diego are tired of waiting for us to become a great city that we know we can be. They just want us to get it done, and that's what this budget is geared toward. All told, this budget puts more than $200 million towards addressing our homelessness crisis. That's a combination of our general fund and the spending from our city's Housing Commission. We'll continue to look for ways to end encampments and address their impacts in the meantime. We are funding, through the leadership of Councilmember Stephen Whitburn, a new safe sleeping program, the first of which will open early next month at the 20th and B Operations Yard not far from City Hall. We're also providing an additional $1.4 million to our Environmental Services Department to support new positions and vehicles for the removal of debris from public rights-of-way where there are heavy encampments. Our environmental services crew have been regularly cleaning these sidewalks and communities across our city since last fall, and to date, they've already removed 550 tons of trash from our streets. This work will continue because of this budget. In fact, it actually will increase because of this budget, so cleaner streets are ahead for San Diego. Speaking of improving our streets, we're significantly increasing our investment in road repair once again. This is the third budget I've had the honor of leading through my administration. Each year we've added money towards road repair. This year we're allocating $140 million to street repair and repaving. The bulk of that road repair funding, $104 million, is for full repaving, which is a substantial increase over last year's allocation. What that means is we're talking about full resurfacing of the roads, not just slurry sealing them. It's an improvement that will last decades, not just a couple months or a couple of years. This investment will allow us to resurface 157 miles of city streets, which is the equivalent of the distance from this building to the California-Arizona border. San Diegans deserve smooth roads, and this budget will deliver on that promise. Finally, our budget stretches our resources for law enforcement by adding 21 civilian positions to take on some of the administrative duties that are currently performed by sworn officers. These new positions mean that we can have our well-trained sworn officers on the streets patrolling and responding to calls for emergencies. We're also including an additional $3.5 million for the Smart Streetlights program to aid our police officers in solving crimes in our neighborhoods. This budget funds new lifeguard positions to keep our beaches safe and funds the Lifeguard Division's biannual Advanced Lifeguard Academy, a 10-week lifeguard academy that provides advanced rescue training to make sure people who visit our beaches can do so safely. As our Council President Pro Tem mentioned, this budget is balanced, is being delivered on time, and it is fiscally prudent. And I'm proud that we've received the unanimous approval of the City Council because it shows that our collaboration here is delivering for the people of San Diego. Finally, I want to express my deep appreciation to the folks who actually put this document together so smartly and competently year after year. Specifically, Matt Vespi, our city's chief financial officer. Matt, thank you, sir. and Rolando Charval, who is our city's controller and director of our Department of Finance. Ben, Eric, Christina, we got a ton of folks who get involved in this. Kim Desmond, who's our Chief Officer for Race and Equity, who importantly, this is the first budget that has really gone through a full equity process. Doesn't mean we've addressed all disparities in our city, but we're certainly going to be better off because of this budget. Suffice to say, there are tons of people who are unheralded often in the work that they do for our city, but I guarantee you none of that road repair, none of those emergency response calls, none of that homeless services response would be possible if they didn't have their spreadsheets, their calculators, all the hard work that you guys do. I'm in awe of what they accomplished, and I'm deeply grateful. I think everyone in our city is grateful. So let's get down to it. We're here to sign a budget, and I'm delighted to do that. Happy to sign the budget, and then we'll be available to answer any questions folks may have. All right. All right, so this is what it looks like, everybody. $5 billion worth of paper there. All right, everybody set? All right, got my nice pin out. All right, today is the 23rd, 6/23/23. All right, ready? Lang, you happy?
I'm happy.
Okay, good. Sign this. There you go. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman. Where's our budget chair? There she is. All right.
Mayor Gloria, can you talk about the Get It Done app? I know that's something that we hear a lot about. Residents complain that, I filed something on Get It Done and it still hasn't been repaired after, months or whatever it is. Is there any money in the budget this year to kind of address that, or is it just that the backlog will get eased because you are infusing more money into things like street repair, road repair, that kind of thing?
Well, so first off, the Get It Done app is wildly popular, and I want to encourage folks to continue to use it. We can only fix the problems that we know about, and the vast majority of what is inputted into that app, our city staff can take action upon. Everything from potholes, which I think we're increasingly reducing the backlog on those. But Kelly, to answer your question, how this budget addresses it is those investments in employees that the council president was talking about a moment ago. Because the city held pay basically flat for a very long time, because we reduced benefits that most other jurisdictions provide to their employees, but we weren't providing, we have not been an employer of choice. And what that means is that we've had a large number of vacancies at the city. So you can report a problem in your community, take, for example, streetlights. But because we haven't been necessarily a place that's shown respect to its employees, we only have a handful of electricians to maintain the roughly 60,000 streetlights that there are in this city. As a consequence, it takes us about 300 plus days to repair a streetlight. So what does this budget do? Well, first off, we're increasing pay for electricians. We're restoring some of the benefits that were removed, and we're actively and aggressively hiring for those positions so that we actually have the hands that can do the repairs that come in via the Get It Done app. We're not going to wait to staff up, though. The City Council, with the support of our employee groups, have authorized short-term contracts so that we can partner with the private sector to get repairs done swiftly. Right now, as we speak, there's a concentrated effort in downtown because there's a large number of lights that are out in downtown, and we're using those contractors and city staff to get the job done. So bottom line is it's not necessarily a problem with the Get It Done app. It's been the high number of vacancies in city staff. And this budget, because of the pay increases and other benefits included, as well as those contracts I mentioned, are methodically trying to address that so that there actually are people here to respond to those calls. It'll take us a bit longer to address all of the backlogs, but we're aggressively working that in streetlights, in permit issuance, pothole repair, list goes on and on. Again, my plea to your viewers, continue to report what's out there. Even if it takes us a bit longer than we'd like to get to it, we will get to it eventually. I think one other thing I would mention is that we're continuing to expand Get It Done. This past year, we added Park and Rec as a department that you can submit complaints through. The app is pretty comprehensive. It doesn't include all city services. Part of this budget does allow us to continue to try and add more services. The one I'm most keen on is public utilities and helping folks who have problems with water and sewer service, particularly billing, for them to be able to do that through the Get It Done app. I think that's something that you'll see get accomplished in the next 12 to 18 months. Who else? Yeah.
Obviously, you sign a piece of paper, you likely consider it now the gospel of the budget, but you're probably going to still get some resistance from homelessness and advocates for that. What is your message to them? Even though, it's now signed, they're probably still going to fight for I guess homelessness. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well,
There's probably gonna be resistance to what you just signed from that camp.
From the pro-encampment people? Yeah, probably true. Because I don't support encampments. Most San Diegans don't. But even those folks should like this budget. I'm not saying they will. It seems to be nearly impossible to satisfy their desire to see more encampments on our streets. But what this budget does do is actually increase the amount of shelter that there are in this community. Because of this council and the money that they just appropriated, we're going to stand up the first safe sleeping site on July 1st. The second one will come online shortly thereafter. And that's hundreds of people who will not have to stay on the sidewalk, but instead can come into a safe environment where they can get connected to services and hopefully get housed permanently. So if folks are critical of the budget, I understand that's a free country. People are welcome to have that opinion. But the bottom line is that the taxpayers of this city are going to invest over $200 million in responding to our homelessness crisis with the budget that we just signed. And I think in exchange for that investment, they have every right to be able to walk about their community unobstructed without the significant health and safety problems that are faced, that we all face collectively, sheltered and unsheltered, because of our encampment crisis. Ed Linderman?
Mr. Mayor, you said shortly thereafter. Does that mean the fall timetable for the OLOT has been accelerated?
No, but listen, shortly is government time, right? Listen, so here, we're working on it as we speak. And in fact, Peralta helped me out, but we did brush clearance out at OLOT.
We've done brush.
Why don't you come on the...
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Christina Peralta, DCO. We've completed brush abatement. The site looks great. We have other improvements that we need to take care of, but we are on track to be open this fall.
And Ed, if I may, maybe forgive me for saying shortly thereafter, perhaps it doesn't match my speed. You know, I'm famously an impatient person, but let me point out, there's a city that took 5.5 years to stand up their first shelter, and they did that just a couple of weeks ago. I saw a story in the paper about another city that's spending over 2 years to try and bring a new shelter online. To do this in something that's measured in weeks and months, not years or half a decade, that's what I'm talking about shortly thereafter.
All right, speaking of shortly thereafter, the idea is, you know, we'd love to get this open, but there has to be some mitigation of the site. And I don't know that that's been generally talked about, or at least as the public understands. This site is not ready.
Well,
meaning the larger lot. It needs some work.
Well, that's why it's not coming online on July 1, but why we anticipate it coming online a few weeks after that. What we have to do is brush abatement. You know, listen, your viewers have seen this. If they're driving north on the 5 right before the S curve, you've seen this sort of hillside. It is a parking lot. It has basically 3 tiers on it. What we have to do is remove the brush that is there, make sure the site is safe and accessible. There's some minor improvements need to be made. Then we need to bring in the materials, the fencing, the tents, the showers, and the other things that are necessary to make sure that it's hygienic, and then have a provider come in and provide that work. That will be done over the next number of weeks. We can do that by July 1 at 20th and B because the site is more prepared. The other one's going to take a little bit more time, but again, we're moving at a very aggressive speed here, and I wish that other cities would move as fast as we're doing. And lastly, Ed, I will tell you that to the extent that the impatient individual inside of me says even weeks doesn't match the size of the speed that we need to have with this crisis, my intention is to go before the voters of San Diego in 2024 and ask them to untie my hands when it comes to our homelessness response effort. The fact that we have to follow existing procurement laws that are in our city charter are understandable, but I think they are frustrating to San Diegans who want us to act faster. I want to act faster, but I need their help to untie my hands to be able to do so. With the City Council's support, I believe that the voters would ratify some modifications to allow us to act quicker, and that will allow us to get more people off the streets faster.
Still in the process of selecting a provider?
Yes, well, we're not prepared to announce one yet, but yes, we're following the procurement rules that we have to follow in order to staff up both 20th and B and then eventually the OLOT.
And if I may, in 2024, you'd like to, let's get that process, including getting a selection, a whole lot faster for something
Absolutely.
like as big as this.
Exactly. In the context of a homelessness crisis, let's act like the crisis that it is and act faster. San Diegans are fed up. They're frustrated. They want action today. I do too. What they may not understand is that our city's rules and within our city charter, which only the voters can change, do extremely prescribe how we're able to respond to this crisis. I believe if we can propose to them a way to do that faster with appropriate safeguards, that they would grant us that authority. Allow us in an emergency situation, as I would describe our current situation with regard to encampments, is to be able to say, in this kind of situation, the city can eliminate red tape, cut bureaucracy, and act faster. I suspect that will be approved overwhelmingly by the voters, and my anticipation, my expectation is to ask them that question next year. Yes?
Hi. Is there any money in this new budget that's going to be focused? I heard like in police, but also because in the past month we had like more shootings than ever in this year. So I'm worried about, like, for example, schools or something you're going to do, or there's like in a year put it on the table like to work with this.
You know, I think we have two council members. If I can lean on to them, we have the chair of our public safety committee that can probably speak to some of the safety concerns, and then our budget chair worked aggressively on a lot of youth interventions, prevention and diversion efforts. Can I ask the two council members, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, so thank you for the question. For a couple of years now, we've been working to institute line item budget items to supplement what our law enforcement partners have to do when it comes to shootings. We did see significant decreases in homicide last year, in the last calendar year. We hope to broaden those. Those were included in this year's budget. But in addition to the youth interventions, we are working with community partners to create spaces where folks can go instead of being on the street and committing these types of crimes, to offer them more opportunity in their own lives. And so, yes, this is an epidemic across the nation. We're doing our work here in San Diego, and Councilmember Von Wilper will point on even more efforts, but we're doing the best that we possibly can in San Diego to ensure that not only are we fighting the crime when it happens, but we are, in addition, adding alternative methods for folks so that they don't create that cycle that often happens with gun violence. Councilmember. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Marnie Von Wilpert. I'm a San Diego City Council member for District 5. I'm also the chair of our Public Safety Committee. One of the most stark increases we've seen in the last few years regarding gun violence is the exponential rise in illegal ghost guns on our streets. And these are guns that people can obtain by getting around our background check requirements, getting around our age requirements. And so we here in the city of San Diego have been taking action with the mayor's support and the budget chair's support to fund, again, the Ghost Gun Task Force for our San Diego Police Department. We are the only large city in the country that has a Ghost Gun Task Force embedded in our San Diego Police Department to try and tackle this growing problem. We also wrote the first law in the state of California to ban the sale of unserialized ghost guns and the parts needed to make them. So we are going to continue to double down on enforcement around ghost guns. We need help from the county. The county has passed it by other cities around us because we can ban the parts being sold here in San Diego, but people can go to the city next door or the county next door and buy them. So we need this to be a statewide effort. We're in the courts right now. The federal court did uphold our law here in the Southern District of California. It found it was not a violation of any constitutional right to ban the sale of illegal ghost guns, but we need to double down on this because that's become an increasing public threat. So thank you.
And I might just add very quickly to that, on the end of prevention, this council approved, I think, significant funding for things like our Parks After Dark summer program that you'll see operating soon this summer across the city. I think that's a wonderful way to occupy folks who might be at risk in more positive settings. We also have our Employ and Empower youth hiring program here at the City of San Diego, an equity-led program where we're focusing on aged-out foster youth and other folks that may have risk factors to try and encourage them to come work at the City of San Diego, paid internships. 1,000 kids is what we're looking at. We're about in excess of 300 or 400 are already here. We have more coming. Again, I think the best way to interrupt violence is give someone a good paying job. And we want these folks to come here and work for the city as an intern and then hopefully convert into a full-time employee to fill some of those vacancies that I was talking to Kelly about a moment ago. And that's on the prevention end. On the response end, to your point about some of the shootings, particularly those over this weekend, this budget, as I mentioned, allocates $3.5 million for the Smart Streetlight program. This is a way of making sure that when those shootings happen, that we have cameras and other technology in place in order to be able to identify those suspects and hopefully bring them into custody quickly. I think some of the instances over this weekend, had those cameras been on, we would have been able to have a vehicle description, a license plate, and other information that would allow our officers to follow up on them, get them into custody. Staff did a fantastic job arresting the suspect in the homicide in City Heights, the stabbing of the elderly Asian woman on Central Avenue. We're still looking for the assailant for the shooting at Liberty Station at the Juneteenth celebration. And we're still looking for the hit and run driver who mowed down a man walking to work in University Heights on Park Boulevard. I think in both of those instances, high traffic areas, major intersections, I think that street light would have, if a camera had been there, we could capture the vehicle description in both cases. We'd be a lot closer to bring those people into custody. I want to send a very clear message. If you're going to do crime in the city, we will find you, we will prosecute you, and we will put you in jail. And I want to make sure that through the full funding of our police department and giving them the tools, both the prevention tools on the youth side, plus the response stuff that Councilmember Von Wilpert was referring to, we will maintain our status as one of the safest big cities in the United States. I know, folks got to do, we got to go put this to work. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for your coverage of this. And again, my appreciation and kudos to our finance staff. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them have calculators, pocket protectors. These people are incredible. And I thank every single one of them. I thank you for being here and help us explain to San Diegans how we're going to use their taxpayer dollars to repair more roads, keep us all safe, and address our homelessness crisis. Thank you all very much.